Hey, Kevin here, and we're doing a live video update, and what we're doing right now is working in the kitchen and putting up cabinets. As you can see, we got a couple cabinets up right here, and I just thought I'd do a little bit of a video just about this process and kind of our thoughts behind what we're doing here, just to give you some perspective if you're considering building your own home or doing a kitchen or whatever.
Installing your own cabinets.
Installing your own cabinets. So what's going on is we had these custom designed at the big box store to fit this L-shaped layout that we have here for this kitchen, and there's a lot of things to consider here. Okay, so first of all, there's a lot of different grades of cabinetry to choose from, and typically they all have these hardwood faces or fronts. Okay, so the hardwood is this part of this is a ply, and then the frame here on this side. Typically that's what you're going to get. So everything else inside here is a press board or wafer wood type product, and the reason they do that is, number one, it's less expensive. Number two, it's very stable. It doesn't warp and bend and twist and do things that normal wood does because of the way they've designed it. And so it just has a sort of a paper finish to it, and mostly when you shut this, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see underneath, you're not going to see on the side. This has all been finished to match. We picked this color, we picked the heights of the cabinets. So these are really tall cabinets. I don't know if that knows.
They're 42 inch.
So these are 42s.
Normal is 36.
Okay, so, and we have an 8-foot ceiling, and so we have a very small kitchen in here, and so what we wanted to do is we wanted to make sure we had as much cabinet space as we could get. So we got longer or taller cabinets, whichever you want to look at that as. And so, but you have to consider that your counter height is going to, your space between your counter and the bottom of your uppers are going to be impacted. So is this enough space for you to work on and maybe store various things, kitchen appliances?
We're going to have about 18 and a half, 19 inches, and standard is 18 inches. So we're going to have a little bit more than standard, but we got the tall cabinets.
Okay. And so then you need to decide, so a shorter cabinet might be coming down from the ceiling, to here, versus up as high as we're at. Now, you can see this is plywood. If you remember on earlier videos, we don't have any sheetrock in the house, so we have plywood ceilings, plywood on the wall, and so this is just a real sort of construction or shop grade plywood. And the reason is we didn't need anything. This is all going to get covered up by either cabinets or backsplash or something, so it's not going to show.
So it saved us about $100 on the project to use this construction grade instead of the nicer stuff.
The other thing, that when you're doing a build and you're considering your kitchen area, you need to have a support system built into the wall for your cabinets to hang on. And if you're just doing sheetrock, you really don't want to hang your cabinets right into sheetrock. That's not a very sturdy surface, especially if you're going to be putting a bunch of stuff in here. It's going to add more weight. These aren't real heavy, but they're going to pull on that sheetrock. So a lot of times what they do is they determine where this is at when they're building the framing, and they run some 2x4 bracing behind in the framing before they put the sheetrock on, so you've got something to screw into when you're attaching the cabinets. What I decided to do, because A, I don't like sheetrock, and B, I didn't want to have to worry about that, is I got this 1/2-inch plywood on here, and so I can screw into this anywhere, and I'm going to have a really good solid surface to attach these cabinets to, and I don't have to worry about finding the studs necessarily, although I will use the studs in there if they are lining up for me. But it kind of gives me a lot more freedom when I'm building to attach these and have a good solid anchor. So that's. Speaking
of attaching, I think you should show them what you did with the screws, because it was a little extra added thing.
Oh, inside the cabinet?
Yeah.
So what we did was we've got these screws and we put washers around them to give us a little bit more purchase on this material to hold it up against the wall. And so that instead of just having just the screw head, it gave us a little bit wider surface to hold on to that and not have it pull through again, because you're going to add shelving and then whatever you're going to store in here, whether it's dishes or food or whatever, and you're going to add a lot of weight. And so we want to make sure we got a good solid anchor to hold that on.
And then what screws did you use?
I just used 2-inch construction screws that are gold. That's you can buy those at any hardware store. and then we just added the washers on there to give us a little bit more bite. And so in this case, we decided to drop down about 3/4 of an inch off the ceiling, primarily because we have about 3/8 or so of an inch between the door of the cabinet and the top of the cabinet itself. So when these are swinging open, I got a little bit of a gap up there, but that's going to allow me to bring my trim pieces, which are 3/4 of an inch thick, down these seams and go right over the top of that cabinet door and continue on. I can just tuck that right up in there and cover my seam up here, and then my trim pieces look real nice up against my cabinetry. So here we are with all the upper cabinets up, and you'll notice two things. One, something's missing, and two, Kevin's drinking. We have no doors to speak of, and there's a really stupid reason for that, and that is that the manufacturer screwed a bunch of them up. And that sort of unfolded as we were pulling cabinets out and installing them and wiping the dust off of them and finding that there was various imperfections that they chose not to catch.
I would not call it imperfections. I would call it actual damage, dear.
Well, it was so, and the ironic part of this is on every one of these cabinets there's a sticker on there, something that has to do with quality control, inspected by blah blah blah. I think you had the day off that day and somebody else put the stickers on, but the problem was this: we had various dented, dinged, scratched. Some of them had glue all over them, and that was what we run into first. Was there was glue on them, and we were like, "What the heck is this?" We thought they were scuffed up, and then we realized, okay, this is just a bunch of glue, and then okay, we can scratch that off, yada yada. And then the next thing you know, we're pulling them out, and we're after having hung the things, wiping the dust off, and chips of the wood are breaking off the hardwood faces. Where again they were having, they shouldn't have had these rough pieces on there. That should have never made it past quality control. And my favorite one is this one right here. When I took the door off that was damaged to take it back to get a replacement, and I could see in the light there was a dent right here, and I was like, what the heck is that? And I'm looking at it. Well, they had installed the door on this side of the frame at one point, and then went, oops, that's not where it goes, and then went and installed it over here. So there's clamp marks from the hardware, and there's holes from where they ran screws in that they just left instead of starting over. So that's what we wound up with. So anyway, we have 2 doors left up here, which they're going to go ahead and replace as well. We just didn't take them off. Because they want to make sure that they all match when they redo them, so the colors are correct. So anyway, we're another 3 weeks out. It took us 3 weeks to get these cabinets after we ordered them. Hold on a second. Okay, I can talk about this some more. And now it's going to take 3 more weeks. We couldn't even speed the order up. Not happy, to say the least. So, we got the cabinets up. Everything looks good that way. But we're going to be doing some reparations here because these cabinets have damages and or just lack of quality control standards, and I'm not tearing them back off the wall, so they're going to give us a better deal. We just haven't figured out what that is yet.
And they're minor things at this point, so it's not like we're leaving damaged
we're living with it,
cabinets on our wall, right?
But the problem is it's one of these things where you start and you see a little bit here and you see a little bit there, and you're like, okay, I can deal with that. And then so what you're doing is you're lowering your standards, or you're settling, and then after a while it starts to snowball, and you realize, you know what, this is a bunch of crap. And so anyway, we ripped all the cabinets off, took them back, squat.
The cabinet doors.
The doors, right.
So moral to that story is very, very, very carefully inspect your cabinets before you install them.
And it's silly that you should have to do that because they should be nice. I mean, they're brand new, and so that they should look brand new when they come out of the box. But that's not what happened. So we went ahead and said, okay, let's start working on the lower cabinets now. And when you're doing cabinetry, we'll do a little lesson here. if you're doing an L shape like this or a corner, whichever you want to look at this, you start with the corner cabinet. That's what this one is. You stick this one up first, and then you work your runs whichever way you're going. This one's the critical piece, the corner piece. So we went to go start doing the lower cabinets. Do I need another drink? Maybe I do. And we took the corner cabinet out of the box, and it was smashed, broken, which is probably something that happened. I don't know whether it happened by the shippers that were the freight guys that were bringing it up, or if it happened coming out of the factory, but it was on the bottom of a very large stack, well over my head, of cabinets that they had palletized and shrink wrapped all these pieces. And so I think it got crushed by the weight. Anyway, another 3 weeks on that, and that's the corner piece, so we can't start any of the cabinetry in here because that's the one we got to put in first. So this is our sink base that's just sitting here out of the way
Pull
right
the
now.
cardboard out of the way so they can see how pretty it is, and it looks fabulous.
I mean, we're happy with the color and the style. We're just not happy with the fact that they broke our
And then we
cabinets.
got a smaller one over here that's going to go between the stove and fridge.
And part of, so there's a cabinet that goes here. That's this one, and then this is going to sit close to that, and then there's another littler one sitting here, the corner cabinet. Then this sink base goes here where the sink is, and then these two pieces. And so these are just sitting in here loose right now because we had to bring them inside, and our kitchen is a bit disheveled. So we reordered. We're waiting our 3 weeks. We're kind of torn apart at this point, and this is more of the reality of building your own house, things that can go wrong, and that frustrates people and causes divorces and all kinds of craziness. We're taking it in stride. We know this happens. I've done a lot of building, and we've done a lot of remodeling over the years, and not everything goes as planned, and not everything shows up like it's supposed to. We also, when you're finished your cabinetry on the lower, you can notice that that's light covered. This is Rocky. He's the boss. And there's toe kicks that go down here on these fronts, and that's part of the trim that, you know, makes them pretty. So we had toe kicks and some other trim pieces that all showed up at the same time with this. They're 8-foot long pieces, and they were all in a box, and they were not protected correctly. They weren't protected at all. And when we pulled them out of the box, they'd all laid against each other during transit and just did this for, you know, from California to Washington. So they were all scuffed up and scratched and just marred from one end to the other. So they all went back, and we had to reorder those. And I said, make sure you wrap them carefully so that they don't rub against each other. You should know this, but why am I telling you? So we're waiting for a lot of pieces. And meantime, we're just sort of functioning out of here.
So you should tell them, we promised to tell them why we had the funky brown stripes on the wall. I don't think we've told them that.
Oh, these?
Yeah.
So, okay, so what we did was we got a paint color that we're happy with, and we're going to have trim around this window and coming out to here. And so this brown is just the transitional color between the trim piece and the cabinet in here that we're using to cover up the plywood wall. And up here we're going to be doing the same thing. We'll have trim all the way around the window. There'll be a trim piece across the top up here. There'll be a trim piece on this seam. So there's a lot of, you know, trim out that goes around here, and so there's just a little bit of reveal on the wall, and so we just chose to use this color of paint, which blends in nicely with the cabinets as a transition between the trim and the cabinet.
And then talk a little bit about the countertop and backsplash that we're thinking we're going to do.
Okay, so what we decided, typically when you buy these countertops, they're formed and they're Formica and they've got built-in backsplashes. Well, we have a window right here that we use. We put it here for two reasons. One, we wanted to be able to see out, and two, we wanted to use it as a serving window, a pass-through from the kitchen to the outside, so that when we're entertaining and having, you know, an indoor-outdoor kind of party thing, we can just push the food and things right through the window. And so that's going to be counter height, the windowsill, and so we couldn't have a backsplash, so we had to go around, and they have, I don't know, what was it, 2,700 and some odd variations of countertops that you can buy through these big box stores, which is overwhelmingly ridiculous. But we needed one with none, and so we decided to go with a butcher block top. It's 1.5 inch thick solid wood, and we're really thinking that's going to look real pretty, and then we're going to blend that right over the top of the counter and sink into the window frame so that it's just ongoing right out the window. And then so it's going to be a a lot of times a 45-degree cut the two pieces together in here at an angle. So your piece would come this way, and you'd cut a corner right through here, and then this other piece would butt into it, and then there's clamps underneath that bring them up tight. We're just going to butt cut them, so we're going to run an 8-foot slab this way, and then bring in our partial slab over this way to just butt together like the frames, if that makes sense, rather than in a 45-degree angle. And we think that's going to look nice. So they come as a raw wood, and then you oil them, and you have a number of coats of oil you put on there that seals them up, and it's food grade oil so that it puts a nice protective coating on it. And then we're going to have to cut out for the sink right here and put our stainless steel sink. So our theme here is stainless steel. As you can see, we got stainless steel fridge, stainless steel stove, stainless steel microwave, which we're going to be hanging a new one up here. This is just our portable, if you will. And then we have a stainless steel center island here that rolls around. Should I bring that in?
Sure.
So we're pulling this in, and this is our moving island. So we at one point thought we were going to put a permanent base cabinet island in here, and then we chose not to because we feel like we got this kind of a flex space, and this has been really handy. We got this at Costco, 2 foot by 4 foot. It's got a little shelf underneath, and the nice thing is if a niece is doing dishes, she pulls it over close to the dish sink, and she puts the dishes up here to dry. If we want to, come over here and use it as our prep table and we're cooking, we do that. If we want to get it out of the way, we just push it over here. I mean, there's just a lot of flexibility, so we're really tickled to have that as our island because it makes it, gives us a lot of options. And so that's kind of what we're doing.
And then we just have to decide on our backsplash, which we're still up in the air about, but we'll show them that.
But we've got some ideas and some pretty cool ones, I think. So we're going to be covering up any of these open spaces now. Our microwave is going to come sit down in here somewhere, and it's a vent. It vents out for us, so it's got the light in it, it's got the microwave, it's got the vent and everything all in one. It shoots it outside. So there won't be a whole lot of open space here, but we are going to have a little bit of plywood reveal here that we're going to cover up with our backsplash, and I think it's going to come out looking really sharp. Anything else?
No, we'll get that all done up here when those lower cabinets come in and show them.
Yeah, we're on hurry up and wait mode, and
but we're so excited to have some cabinets.
We
Yay!
do have cabinets, and we kind of got the flavor. We can see what we got going here, and we're really happy with the color. And when we get the right ones in, we get all the new doors. It's going to turn out real nice, and we're satisfied with that.
So while we're waiting for the new doors and the cabinets, we're just going to get all the trim and those little things done up.
Yeah, we got lots of little projects, just little this and that, tidy up things that we need to do. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So there you go. See you in the next video.